Today I'm going to be showing you how to crochet these super cute mushroom frames that you can spruce up in any way you want with different colors, frames, and additions. I also wanted to start with a little disclaimer that although this pattern contains many basic or simple stitches, I would consider this a pattern for an intermediate crocheter due to all the supplies, sewing, and different possibilities there are. If the video is ever a little too fast, you can adjust the playback speed through the YouTube video settings. That being said, let's jump right into it, and if you have any questions, don't hesitate to comment. The materials you'll need are a frame, 2 to 3 yarn colors of your choice, a 4mm, 3.5mm, and 3mm hook. We also need scissors, stitch markers, sewing needle, stuffing, and a hot glue gun, even though it isn't pictured. For starters, we need to prepare our frame. Since I had a new one, I had to remove all the plastic packaging. But you'll want to remove the back piece, take the glass and the extra whatever photo is in there, and then you'll want to put the back piece back in and secure it back in place. Sometimes the frames will have an extra piece of cardboard in there, which I will keep for extra support. Now that our frame is ready, we're going to take the yarn in our background color. For me, this is dark brown. For the background, we will be using the 4mm hook. Now, create a slip knot on your hook and chain for as long as the length of the inner part of your frame. Here, you'll see me check the length of the chain, and I'll need to make a few more for it to reach the top and the bottom of the frame. Now it's long enough to reach the top and the bottom. Don't worry if it's just a little extra longer, as you can see in the video. Now you are going to turn your work and place a double crochet 2 stitches away from the one on the hook. Now you are going to work a double crochet in each stitch across. Essentially, we will just be crocheting a rectangle or a square to fill in the space. Once you reach the end of the first row, it should look something like this. Don't worry if it isn't super straight at this point. From this point, you just repeat until you reach the desired width to fit in your frame. At the end of each row, you will chain 2, turn your work, and double crochet in each stitch across. Once you are done, your background should look something like this. Now is time to make the first mushroom cap. For this example, I'll be making red mushrooms with this red yarn. To start the mushroom, you will need to make a magic ring. If you can't do a magic ring, an alternative option is written on the screen. Once you make your magic ring, chain 2. This will count as your first double crochet. This part is important so you know where to slip stitch at the end of this round. Place a stitch marker into your second chain as shown in the video here. Now you will place 11 double crochets in the magic ring, making a total of 12 including the beginning chain 2. If you did the magic ring alternative, you can go ahead and ignore this part. Once you've placed your 11 double crochet, you'll want to pull the magic ring tightly closed. Now this is where the stitch marker is helpful. You'll want to find the top of the chain 2 that the stitch marker is in and slip stitch into there. I like to make sure my magic rings are very secure, so here you'll see I use my needle to weave the end through the back of the double crochets that we worked in the first round. If you wanted an extra small mushroom, you would stop here. For now, I'll show you how to create a larger one. Now we will be increasing by placing 2 double crochet in each stitch around. The first stitch to work into can be a little difficult to find. You'll want to place the first double crochet in both loops of where you previously just slip stitched into. You'll see I use the needle to show the correct stitch. As you continue increasing, I like to grab the tail end of the magic ring and crochet over it, just to guarantee extra security. Here's what round 2 looks like with 2 double crochets in each stitch, totaling to 24. If you wanted a small mushroom, you could stop here, but we'll get to that later. For this next row, to create a medium mushroom cap, you will place 2 double crochets in the first stitch, 1 double crochet in the next, and repeat that pattern all the way around until you reach a total of 36 stitches. Once you've reached the end, slip stitch into the first and set it aside. Do not cut the yarn, we will need it later to attach to the stem. Now it's time to make our first stem. For this example, I'll be using white yarn and a 3.5mm hook. I like to size the hook down for the stem so the mushroom caps are a little bit bigger. You'll want to leave a somewhat long tail to use to sew the mushroom onto the project itself later. Create a slip knot and chain 12. Once you've chained 12, you're going to turn this into a circle or a loop by slip stitching into that very first stitch, as you can see here in the video. You'll want to insert your hook into that very first stitch, yarn over, pull through, and then pull through that same loop that was already on your hook. Now you'll want to place a double crochet in that same space you just slip stitched into. Usually it should be a little bit stretched out and easier to find. Continue to work 1 double crochet in each stitch all the way around for a total of 12. Now you're just going to repeat that process of a double crochet in each stitch for as long as you want your mushroom stem to be. Each round should end in 12 stitches total. For a medium mushroom, I usually make the stem 3 to 4 inches, but it also depends on the size of your frame and each individual mushroom cap. Here we can kind of reference the size we need our mushroom stem to increase to. Since our current stem has 12 stitches right now, it would fit the extra small mushroom cap. As we increase on the mushroom caps, we have to do the same to the stems for them to match. Now we'll increase by placing 2 double crochets in each stitch, totaling to 24 stitches. At this point, it should start resembling a mushroom stem. Now we will be following the same pattern from the mushroom cap. Place 2 double crochets in the first stitch, 1 double crochet in the second, and repeat that pattern all the way around until you reach 36 stitches. At the end, you should be able to see that your mushroom cap would fit on the finished stem for your medium mushroom. Slip stitch into the first and then cut the yarn, leaving a small tail. Now it's time to attach the 2 pieces together using a 4mm hook and picking the yarn back up from the mushroom cap. To attach the 2 pieces, insert your hook through the same space you slip stitch at the end of the mushroom cap. Carefully hold that in place while you grab the mushroom stem and align the stitches together. Personally, I'll attach the pieces together close to the slip stitch on each piece, as you can see in the video. Yarn over, pull through, and then pull through both loops on the hook to create your first single crochet attaching the 2 pieces. Repeat all the way around, single crocheting through both the mushroom cap and the stem. Don't crochet through the slip stitch or you may create an extra stitch. Here you can see the slip stitch that we're skipping past, and we're just going to work into the stitch directly next to it. Once you reach the end, you can slip stitch to the first, but I prefer to just fasten off and sew the tail into the project later. And here is your first finished large mushroom. If you go ahead and grab your frame again, you can begin to map out where you want your mushrooms to go. I always start with the largest and make smaller ones to fill in the space around it. Here you can see I kind of visually plan out what mushrooms I should put where and what sizes. If we look at the last mushroom we finished, you can see the approximate size of the next 2 smaller mushrooms. Round 1 on the inside is an extra small mushroom, round 2 is a small mushroom, and we finish round 3 with a medium. These next few minutes may seem a bit repetitive, so I've sped things up a little bit as it's all the same we've done previously. Using a 4mm hook again, make a magic ring and chain 2. If you need a magic ring alternative, it's on the screen as well. Don't forget the stitch marker at the top of your chain 2. Now place 11 double crochet in the magic ring. If you're doing the magic ring alternative, you can ignore this step. Your total stitch count after should be 12 because the starting chain 3 counts as 1 double crochet. Pull the ring tightly closed and slip stitch to the top of the chain 2 where you placed the stitch marker. Don't forget to weave in your ends. Again, we'll be increasing this round by placing 2 double crochets in each stitch for a total of 24. For your first 2 double crochet, you'll be working in the same spot you just slip stitched to the top of the chain 2. Since we're just making a small mushroom this time, slip stitch to the first and set aside. Do not cut the yarn. Grab your stem colored yarn again. For me, that'll be white. You have an option of either a thick stem or a thin stem. For tutorial purposes, I'll show you now how to make a thin stem since our first mushroom had a thick one. You'll want to switch to your 3.5mm hook again and pick up a slip knot in the white yarn. This is very similar to the thick stem, but since it's smaller, it can be a little bit more tricky. Chain 6 and then slip stitch into that very first chain. Here is where it can be a little more difficult having to slip stitch into that very first chain. I like to hold my yarn that's on the hook tight with my index finger, and that usually makes it a little bit easier to go through that stitch, yarn over, and pull through to do the slip stitch. Place a double crochet into the very same space you just slip stitched. It should be a little stretched out and easier to find. Continue to place a double crochet in each stitch around for a total of 6 stitches. You'll want to repeat each row like this for as long as you want your stem to be. Once you've reached your desired stem length, we will start increasing to match the small mushroom cap. Place 2 double crochet in each stitch, totaling at 12 stitches total. Since our total stitch count was only 12 and we need it to be 24 to match the cap, we'll do another round of increases. Work 2 double crochets in each stitch, totaling at 24. Slip stitch into the first and cut with a small tail. Now, using a 4mm hook again, you'll pick up the mushroom cap and attach it to the stem with single crochets. Since there's no changes to this part from the last mushroom, we'll speed through. I went ahead and made another small mushroom, this time with a thick stem. You can kind of see the comparison here of a small mushroom with a thick stem and with the thin stem. Now let's make some extra small ones. Again, for the mushroom caps, we'll be switching to a 4mm hook. If you've been following along with the tutorial, this should be your third time making this, so hopefully you're getting the hang of it. Make a magic ring, chain 2, or use the alternative on the screen. Work 11 double crochet into the magic ring, pull tight, and then slip stitch into the top of the chain 2 that you put your stitch marker into. Don't forget to weave in your ends securely. And there you have your extra small mushroom cap. Now to make a stem for it. Using a 3.5mm hook again and your stem colored yarn, create a slip knot and chain 6. Slip stitch to the very first chain to create a loop. Double crochet in each stitch around, totaling at 6. Continue to repeat 1 double crochet in each stitch for as long as you want the stem to be, with each round ending in 6 total stitches. Now we will work on increases so our stem can match the mushroom cap. Work 2 double crochet in each stitch for a total of 12, and then slip stitch to the first and cut your yarn. Now we begin the process of attaching the 2 pieces together again, which we will speed through. If the video is ever going too fast for you, you can use the YouTube option to change the playback speed and adjust it to your liking. And your smallest mushroom is done. Sometimes to help shape them a little bit better, I'll take the end of my needle, poke it through a stitch, and gently push the mushroom cap up for a little bit more dimension. I went ahead and made a few more mushrooms to fill the space so we can get right into the assembly. If you need to here, you can pause the video to see the steps for each mushroom size. The mushroom caps on the left, each size resembles a round. For example, extra small is round 1 and small is round 2. If you wanted an extra large one, you'd crochet 5 rounds. On the right, you can see how to begin both a thin and a thick stem, as well as how to increase to reach the same size as your mushroom caps. Essentially, once you make your stem the desired length, use the same pattern you used from the cap to get to as many stitches needed. Now this part is optional, but we'll be adding the little spots or speckles on the top of the mushroom cap. You can use any color, but I'm using the same white as my stem. Thread your yarn through your needle and insert through a stitch on the stem near the top. Find somewhere in the bottom of your mushroom cap to pull your needle through. Now you can make a spot by threading the needle back through the top of the mushroom cap in any other stitch. Repeat this for as many spots as you want. When you're done, bring the needle back through the same spot on the stem. Cut the yarn, and now you can tie the 2 pieces together and tuck that back into the mushroom stem. Here you can see as I bring the needle back through the very same stitch that we went through on the stem. This is where you will cut the yarn, and you can tie these 2 pieces of yarn together and tuck it back into the stem. The easiest way I found to tuck this back in is just to use the end of your needle and poke it back through like this. Now I'll show this process again on a small and an extra small mushroom, but this time in 2 times speed. So again, if you need to slow it down, you can use YouTube's playback option. Here we will start our extra small mushroom, which usually I only put 1 or 2 spots on. Before we begin sewing everything together, you'll want to gently stuff the thick mushroom stems, just enough so they keep their shape. You can also do this for the thin stems, but I rarely do. Optionally, you can also add more stuffing if you want your mushroom cap to be a little bit more domed, but I prefer them to be a bit more on the flat side. Now, you should grab your frame once more to make sure you are happy with the layout you have. It may not look exactly the same once it's all sewn in, but it helps to get a good idea of where you want things to go. Remove all mushrooms from the frame except for the largest. Thread the yarn of the stem tail through your needle and carefully pick up both the mushroom and the background you crocheted. Hold the mushroom in place as you sew the bottom of the stem down. Usually I will sew half of the stem and leave the top half more loose, which gives the mushrooms more shape. Pretty much you're just weaving the needle back and forth through both pieces to make sure the mushroom is securely attached. My phone ended up dying while I finished these first 2, but here you can see how they're both attached, but not all the way up to the cap. You'll want to make sure that all of your ends are securely weaved in through the back. What I do is bring the yarn through the back of the double crochets and back over itself again. Now here on the back is where you can weave in these ends. You can see here, these are the back of those double crochets from the background. I weave the needle through there, and just to make it extra safe, I'll weave it back over top of itself, but since we use hot glue at the end, usually all the ends are secure. Picking up the mushroom cap yarn tail on your needle, you'll need to decide whether you want your mushroom to be a little flexible in terms of movement, fixed in an upright position, and if you want any smaller mushrooms behind it. For this one, I decided to have it stick to the side of the bigger mushroom behind it. First, I use the needle to go through one stitch over to have a cleaner circle look. For the slightly bigger mushrooms, you'll want to sew them in twice just for extra security. You'll see this top left mushroom cap I haven't sewn in yet because I'm wanting to put a smaller one right above it to fill in the space more. Now we're just going to continue doing this for each mushroom you've made. I went ahead and finished sewing the rest off camera, so now let's jump right into the final step in the assembly. You'll need to grab your hot glue gun now and turn it on, and I just grabbed an extra little piece of paper to collect any mess. Once your hot glue gun is ready, you'll want to be very careful with these next steps so you don't burn yourself. I start by putting some glue in the top corner and then immediately grabbing the mushrooms and pushing the correct corner to the glue. If you are using a kickstand frame, make sure you don't glue it on upside down. You'll also want to be careful here to not get any glue on the mushrooms. The little stringy bits shouldn't stick, but it's better to get them out of the way when you can. Now place a line of glue along the top leading to the next corner, and then firmly push the crocheted background to the glue. You'll want to repeat this process all the way down, especially making sure you get all of those corners and edges laid down. Now we're down to the last corner. Make sure to really get it glued on and that all of the edges are secure before turning your glue gun off. This is another optional step, but I like to take a pair of small scissors and trim any fuzz that might be on the project. Be very careful that you don't accidentally cut your work. And here you have your finished work. It probably doesn't look super similar to mine, but that's what I love about this pattern. There's so many different things you can do and they all turn out so amazing. I'd love to see your finished projects if anyone chooses to share. I'll also link below where I got this frame, as well as where you can buy the written pattern, place a commission order, or browse my already finished pieces. Thank you so much for watching, and I hope you love your new mushroom decor.